Chairman, at a time when the wealthiest people in our country have grown much wealthier and the poorest people in our country are suffering greater pain than at any time since the Great Depression, the Penny Kasich amendment is an extremely mean-spirited and harmful piece of legislation which will cause significant pain for some of the most vulnerable people in our society. Mr. Chairman, the very serious budget crisis which this country faces today was not caused by the elderly or by the poor. It was caused primarily by giving hundreds of billions of dollars in tax breaks to the wealthiest people in this country and through an enormous increase in military spending. If we want to get to the root cause of our deficit crisis, now that the Cold War is over, let's have the courage to cut military spending significantly, and let's ask the wealthiest people in this country to start paying their fair share of taxes. Let us not balance the budget on the backs of the elderly, the poor, and hospitalized veterans. That is not very courageous. Mr. Chairman, it is cruel and unacceptable to ask a senior citizen with an income of $10,500 to pay a 20% co-insurance payment for home health services. How many low-income senior citizens would simply not be able to call their visiting nurse association for help and suffer terribly as a result? In my own state of Vermont, the Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice Association estimates that this copayment would cost the average beneficiary about $850 in 1994. That's a lot of money for someone with an income of $10,500 a year. Further, Penny Kasich proposes to collect another 20% co-insurance fee on clinical lab services currently covered under Medicare. This will result in additional direct out-of-pocket expenses to senior citizens regardless of their incomes, whenever important lab tests need to be undertaken. What a sad way, what a pathetic way to raise money. Mr. Chairman, Penny Kasich would cut spending for veterans' medical care by $1 billion over 5 years at precisely the time when our VA hospitals are so very hard-pressed. And that is why Penny Kasich has been opposed by the American Legion and other veterans organizations. I find it extremely distasteful that this Congress would consider balancing the budget on the backs of men and women who have put their lives on the line and suffered physical injury defending this country. Mr. Chairman, I've heard some of my congressional friends who are defending this amendment express the belief that this is a, quote, courageous act in moving this country forward toward deficit reduction. With all due respects to my colleagues, I disagree. It is not courageous to inflict more pain on the sick and the elderly and our hospitalized veterans. That is not courage.
Time of the gentleman has
I urge the defeat of Penny Kasich. Thank you.
The gentleman from Ohio. The gentleman